Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our new session, which is related to task number two, and which is about serving SPA, so single page application. Actually, we already had a kind of workshop and a current session on Monday, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and I already explained and shown how to deploy your application using the Amazon Q. So we've been talking with the AI developer assistant from the AWS, and this assistant just helped us to deploy in our application. So this is actually what are we expecting from you during this? Uh, sorry. Okay, yeah, just said do not disturb. So yeah, and this is just enough to complete the task number two. Now, actually, it's the first practical one, but yeah, if you're talking about the course itself, so it's the second one. Uh, Today, I want to talk to you about the theory, uh, about the services which we've been using during making this task. So, and it was not much of them actually, but it's crucial to understand how we work and how to leverage all of the potential from the services. So let's have a brief look at the agenda. So today we will talk about the types of storages in the AWS, because AWS is not only about deploying your web page to the internet. We have, as I already mentioned, I guess, so somewhere about more than 200 services. And you don't need to know about all of them, but today we will talk about the storages in the AWS, which types we have and how can we use them. Next, we will talk about the S3 buckets. So right now you just used only one S3 bucket and you just deployed your application on this S3 bucket and make it publicly accessible via the CloudFront. But actually AWS provides us with the ability to manage even the specific resource. So in this case, it's S3 bucket. And we will have a look at what options do we have using the S3 buckets. Next, we will talk about the CloudFront, what it is, how it works, and why are we using it in this course. Next, we will briefly have a look at the task itself. And just briefly, we will take a glance at the schema and try to understand what we've just done. And in the end, I have a few organizational questions which I want to address to you, because some of them about the schedule, some of them about the cross-check, some just, let's say, course-specific questions. Okay, let's move on. So first of all, types of storages in the AWS. Let me make the screen a bit bigger for myself so I can see it. Yeah, so first type of storage, and this is the one we've been using already, it's object storage. So you can think about it like this is the real this is a real bucket, and you can just place something in this bucket, set the policies for this particular item, and then just get access to this file or just store something in here. And I don't know why, but there is already shown two types of S3 buckets. So which one is the default one, let's say? So just S3 bucket where you can place something and then you can take something. And then there is the Amazon S3 Glacier. And Glacier is kind of cool thing because let's imagine you are on the production you are working with the production environment, and now you have the database which you are not using anymore. So, for example, you just migrated from the MySQL to the Postgres, and you don't need the MySQL database anymore. But for some, I don't know, specific reasons, maybe it's a regulational questions, or maybe some sensitive data is located in here, and you need just to store this data. And for some reason, this data may be necessary to get access in a few years. But so in this case, you don't want to store this data in the S3 bucket because it will be quite costly. And you can save up to 10 times, I guess, or something like this. You can have a look at the prices. Storing this kind of data, which is not, which you don't need to get frequent access for. You can store this kind of data in the Amazon S3 Glacier. So you just put it in here, and this data is stored in the, let's say, cold storage. What it means, so first of all, you'll pay much less for this kind of data, but the problem is, to get access to this data, you will need to ask AWS to, let's say, unfreeze this data, and it may take a while, so maybe some hours or even days. So you can store it and pay much less for it, but this data can be immediately accessible when you need it. So you will need to ask AWS to restore this data from the cold archive and make it accessible for you. So this is a problem. And next, I think on the next slide, we will take a look at the rest of the S3 buckets. But now let's go to the file storages. If we're talking about the file storages, you can think about them like NFS share. So it's a disk, kind of disk, which you can mount to your virtual machine via the network and get access to it like on the file system. And it may be necessary and it may be cool if you have, so for example, 2 or 3 virtual machines, and all of them will need the access to the same file system. NFS will help you in this case. And AWS also provides us the something which is called FSX. So actually, it's also a file storage, but for some specific projects, let's say. So we have different reaction times. So we have maybe somewhere we have more advanced speed for this kind of file systems. So we're just specific for some specific projects. Yeah, so I can't say much because I've never used them. And the next one actually is a block storage. So block storage is like a hard drive. So even your laptop or your computer have a hard drive. So EBS, Elastic Block Storage, is this kind of drive. So you can just attach it to one virtual machine at a time. And this one will be like a default folder right inside of your VM and may be accessible in any time and with so low latency. One thing I forgot to ask you, do you hear me and do you see the screen? Because it's quite quiet in the chat. So let me just know, please, if you can hear me well, because if there's some issues, I'll need to fix them. Let me maybe look. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much. just forgot to ask you at the start. So yeah, cool. So this is we are talking about the storages. So lots of them, and most of them are for some kind of specific tasks. So if you are talking about the block storage, we will be helpful for you only if you're working with the virtual machine, so with EC2 instances. If you're talking about the file systems, almost the same actually. So you can just mount them to your virtual machine and get access to everything but located inside of them. And if we are talking about the object storage, so if we need to store some data or some I don't know, images or just whatever. So we'll use the object storage, which is S3 bucket in our case. Let's move on and let's have a look at the different types of the S3 buckets. So as I already mentioned, there is lots of them. And for all of these types of S3 buckets, you can get benefits, but only in case if it's needed. So as you can see at the right side, there is different types even of the Glacier. So you can not just store the data in the Glacier, but you can choose which type of, let's say, I don't know, subscription or type of this bucket you will use. They all have different prices. They all have different policies about how can you put the data inside of these buckets and how can you get this data from the S3 bucket. Can't say much about the rest because I've never used them actually. So I've been just reading about them to get on some of the AWS courses. But yeah, not much I can say. But whenever you will need to get something specific, it's always worth reading the documentation. So yeah, just go ahead and try to understand what's happening inside. What else can we do with the S3 buckets? So one more cool thing is what we can set up the policies and create the retention policies for our files inside the S3 bucket. So for example, right now you have, let's say, one picture in your S3 bucket. Tomorrow it will be 1,000 pictures. And not all of them will be necessary for, will be accessed, will be necessary to be accessible for you. And you can say to the AWS, okay, AWS, I just want for every picture in this, or let's say for every object in this S3 bucket, to make it go to the Glacier S3 bucket if we are not accessed for, let's say, 3 months or something like this. And it will be enough for AWS to understand that, okay, so yeah, this picture is 2 days and 2 months and 29 days in the S3 bucket. So tomorrow I will just move it to the Glacier, and that's it. You will pay much less for this particular picture, but this is only if we are talking about the pictures. But imagine you have terabytes of data in this S3 bucket, and it will be very helpful for you to place some data which is not necessary to be accessed in a second to the archive, and pay for it much less. So this is, I'm not sure in this course if we will work a bit closer with the S3 bucket, but yeah, this thing I think worth understanding. Okay, let's move on and let's talk a bit about the, about the CloudFront. So I already saw in the chat the question. So it was something about, okay, I already deployed the application in the S3 bucket and it's already accessible from the S3 bucket link. And yeah, exactly. So you have an option just to deploy your application in the S3 bucket and it will be accessible, but it will be accessible only from this particular bucket. But now imagine that this bucket is located somewhere in the Germany. And tomorrow you will have a customer from the Australia, from the USA, just wherever, but it should be something distant, just to understand how it works. And all of his customers from the different side of the globe will have a huge lags and a huge latency accessing your web page. And it will be just uncomfortable to work with your application. And in order to fix it, AWS provides us with the Amazon CloudFront, which is content delivery network. What it actually does. So you have your application, which is located in the S3 bucket. And mostly it has, let's say, some static part of this application. So it may be background. I actually don't know. I've never looked deep inside the application we are talking about. So the one we are deploying in this course. But I believe there should be something static, which is not frequently changing. So, and CloudFront provides us an option to get the static part of this application, or actually not the static, not only the static part, but to get your application and deploy it to all of the possible edge locations of the AWS network. Let's have a look, I think, at the, okay, what else can I say about this schema? So yeah, various edge locations, regional edge caches, and region server. So you can think about the region server is your S3 bucket. So this is the place your application is located right now. Regional edge caches is the place where AWS caching your application. And then particular users can access to this application with the cloud with the URL which is provided by the CloudFront, and they will be redirected to the edge locations, which will take the information from the regional edge caches. At the next slide, let's have a look at the map of our planet Earth. And all of these are the places where your application will be stored and cached. So if you're deploying, once again, your application in the Germany, if you are using the CloudFront, it will be also cached in the USA, in the Australia, so in Japan, and in Asia Pacific, so just wherever. And as you can guess already, all of the customers from around the globe will have much faster access to your application if you are using the CloudFront. So this is how it works. So if you're sure that your market and your target customer is located in your region, so maybe it's maybe it doesn't make much sense to use the CloudFront, but with CloudFront, we can not only cache, but we can also have a look at the data statistic, and there is much more which AWS can tell us about this particular connection. Okay, and now the second part about this task is the task schema. So as you can see, it's quite simple. So it's just a CloudFront, so in our CDN, and it's the URL which you are getting from the CDK. It provides us with the URL which we can use to access in our application. And this CDN is directly, let's say, connected to the S3 bucket where our application is stored. So I think it's it regarding the task. So we are just deploying our application in the Ethernet in the S3 bucket and then creating the CDN to make it accessible worldwide. This is how it works. Any questions? If not, I believe we can go to the organizational questions, which I want to additionally tell you. So, okay, let this one be the first. First one is schedule. So, right now you can see the schedule in the App School, but I think I will clean it up just because I have a quite huge load right now on the project, and so I can't always be sure with, oh, okay, this evening I will be free. So I will try to notify you for a day or two, something like this, where we can have the lectures. And so I encourage you not to pay attention at the schedule, which is at the apperschool.com, I guess, or something like this. Yeah. So I think I will probably clean it out and pay attention only to the announcements in the Discord, because I think it's the only source of truth. Okay, second one. I think most of you already saw we have a kind of community in the Discord, and people trying to help each other, and it's quite good. I also trying to help you, and if someone has helped you, and and you want somehow appreciate the one who helped you, I'll encourage you to, okay, bear with me for a second, I will share the screen. So just to show how it looks like. Like this, I guess. Yeah, here we go. So this is in our application. And here we have a say thank you, Discord gratitude. So whenever you appreciate someone's help, so go ahead and just search for the person, set up some comments, leave the comments just to make this person understand for what exactly he got this page, and just submit. So this information will be accessible on your profile, and also there will be a notification in the Discord channel about this gratitude. So use it. It's very helpful, and I think it's always cool to understand what, okay, your help was really valuable for someone. Next thing I want to mention is the documentation. So whenever you have some concerns on, for example, what cross-check is, how to do it, and what can I do with this, so go ahead to the documentation. If you are in the application app school, so here down below you can see the docs, and in these docs you can see almost everything about this platform, about the RS school. And if we'll scroll, yes, I'm in here, so there's a cross-check. And it perfectly explains how cross-check works and what are your responsibilities doing and getting cross-check. There's plenty to read, yeah, but still, it's really worth reading about. But one thing I want especially mentioning about the cross-check. So at the end of the week, I think this week, yeah, you will be already distributed to cross-check. So what does it mean? Whenever you submit your work, whenever you submit some particular task, you will be joined to the list of the active students. And then at the end of the task, and when the task ends, you can see, I think, somewhere in here. Yep. So it's the end date. So this is the date where you need where you need to have your application, your task and your job already submitted. And after this day, this cross-check will be distributed. So you will get 4 students to check their work. And another 4 students will check your work. To get the points, you will need to check all 4 works. So it doesn't matter if there is something inside. So for example, someone may just submit the empty pull request, let's say, and you will still need to place the 0 points to the student just to get your points. So you need to check 4 works to get your points. Next, 4 students will check your job, and you will get the I'm not sure. Let's have a look. There is something about it. So I believe you will get the average of the top 3 points you just received. It should be somewhere in the task. Okay, some job, blah blah blah. Not here. Okay, should be here, I guess. Quality of work, review, getting grades and comments. Lower grade is omitted, and the average of the remaining 3 grades is calculated. So if you get, I don't know, just is it? Let it be 100, 100, 0, and 0. So in this case, one of the zeros will be omitted, and you will get the average of 100, 100, and 0, which is what? Would it be 33? Oh, sorry. I'm just a bit tough in the evening, so okay, so it should be 33, I guess. Yeah, not much. But anyways, if you are not sure, if you are not satisfied with the points which you get for the particular task, just go ahead and actually you can go through this manual. So you can just appeal all of this. So you will need to create the issue on our task on our GitHub page, and I will review it and try to figure out what's happening and try to fix all of it. What is next? To submit your task, you have the, I believe, with the button somewhere in here. So it's called like cross-check submit. And this is a place where you'll need to submit the link to your pull request. In this pull request, you'll need to populate not only with the code itself, but with some descriptions. Which exactly, let's have a look at the example of the task number 2. So manual evaluation, blah blah blah, pull request description template. So this is the information you will need to provide to make your task checked. Submit link to the pull request, the cross-check page in the okay, sounds good. So you're just creating the new branch, which is task 2, creating the pull request to the main branch, and then submit this pull request link to the submission at the submission page of the app RS school. Next, what about the evaluation? Someone who will check your job will need to make sure that your job is satisfies all of these options. I also saw there is a concern about the first part of it. Menu in the dist folder, policies, your pull request will contain description of the work done. 30 points is the work alone is done. So if S3 bucket was created, deployed. So I think the concern is about why did it should it be deployed manually or automatically? Okay, so let's do it like this. If you can see, but in this pull request, we also have some kind of code which contains CDK. And you can reach the URL, which should be also provided with the pull request. That just means that this task was created with the automatic deployment. But if you can see only the link without any kind of code or CDK or just whatever, so it's just an application and link to the deployed application, let's consider that it's a manually deployed application. How's that sound? So yeah, just let me know. So in this submission, you'll need to provide the link and the link to the pull request and the link to your CloudFront, just to make someone who check your job to make sure that this web page is deployed and accessible. I think that's it from the perspective of this test. So further on, we will also talk about the evaluation criteria and on what should you provide in this particular pull request. And there is one more thing, actually. Let me share this schema once again. So I will show you what I'm thinking about. So as you can see, the end date of the second task is 16th of February. If we will have a look, so actually it's not 16th of the February, but 15th, but the end of the day. And since it's UTC, so I'm in the +4 time zone. So this is why it shows me when it's 16th. I had an idea just to move this due date to the end of the Sunday. But the problem is only at the end of Sunday, you will be distributed with the for the cross-check. And to check this job, you will have only 3 days. Yeah, so it will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So there is no weekends to cross-check. But I think some of you may not have just time on the weekdays. So this is why I'm thinking about to move this due date to something like, I don't know, 8 p.m. on Saturday. Just not to confuse you. So let's have a look on how it would look like. So let me move to the 8 o'clock, so local time. Okay, it's 8 o'clock UTC, save. And now it still shows, okay. Am I missing something? I think not. So the problem is, I guess it should be 7 p.m. Yeah, now it's 15. So, but I think some of you may also leave a bit more western so you will still be provided with this confusing number. Maybe let's settle on, but the due date is the end of the day, Saturday, UTC. I think it will be quite convenient for all of us. So, and at the end of a Saturday, we will already have the distribution of a cross-check, and you will have a chance to spend, let's say, 30 minutes to check 4 jobs and call it a day. I think I'll run a poll if it's possible in the Discord. So yeah, I think we still have a bit of time to the end of the week, and we can decide how to do it and what to do with this ending. How's that sound? I hope it sounds great. What else? Okay, we talked about the schedule on the Online School app. We talked about the thank you button. We also talked about the cross-check itself. I've shown you the documentation, and that's it. So yeah, I'll just mark it down. So I need to create a poll. Oops. Okay, so if you will still have any questions, actually, if you will see in our repository in the GitHub, there's some videos. I'm not sure if we must see or yeah, it's just the material. Okay, yeah, we have a must watch. You can watch them, but you can also maybe read some documentation about all these resources. So, oh, okay, I'm not sharing. There are some topics which you need to understand. We will not have, I guess, any tests anymore, but just for educational purposes. So just read and understand what's happening under the hood of all of these titles like CloudFront or S3 or whatever. There is also must-watch videos. We are worth watching, but we are a bit maybe somewhere outdated because AWS not staying as a place, and we're usually evolving and improving their quality, improving functionality, and some parts of these videos may be outdated. And I think for the next run, I will change these videos, I will review them and change. But now I will also suggest you to have a look at the previous at the sessions of the previous runs of this particular course. At least I found 2 of them. So the previous one was mine, and the one which ran a year ago was by forgot his name, sorry. So by someone else. Yeah, and all that you can find at this YouTube channel, at the live, and then scroll down below and look for these orange thumbnails, and it will say that, okay, here we go, this is the AWS Cloud Developer course. And you can check, especially at the previous run, I shown much of code. I'm not sure if it was a proper way to tell you what to do with these tasks, but yeah, still. If you are confused by something, just have a look inside. There's so much to see from the side of the code, but not from the theory. At this point, okay, the questions. Let's have a look at the first one. If I understood you right, we need to provide the URL for test 2, 1, and 2. Let's have a look at it once again. So let's open the task. If you're reading about the task 2.1, it's a manual deployment. So I'm not sure if this option is really worth mentioning in this course, because who the hell deploying something manually in the AWS? And you shouldn't also, because it's not the best practice. So you deployed it now, but tomorrow you forgot where you deployed it, and then you may just lost in this complicated console. Because from the first glance, it's really complicated. So just try to find where should I click to find the CloudFront. Okay, actually I have it in the favorites, but still, if you click on this menu button and try to find the CloudFront somewhere in here, it's very complicated. So you should just, if you are deploying via the console, so you should understand what you're understanding, what are you doing. So mostly we are talking about the automatic deployment, and this is what all in our course about. So we are trying to deploy in our application in using the automation approach, and leveraging the serverless methodology. So I can't say much about the task 2.1. So if we are talking about the evaluation, if you can see the link and it's working, so it just redirecting you to this application, which is actually almost nothing, but still it looks like it's working. So it's answering with just something. It will be enough just to mark at least 70 points. In addition to the previously CloudFront distributions created. Yeah, once again, it's talking about something which is deployed manually. So there is not kind of task 2.1. So it's if you're deploying it automatically, so just deploy your application and it will be enough. If 70 points is enough for you, so just go ahead, deploy it manually, and then just provide the link for the Never S3 bucket or CloudFront. So just whatever. So if you just if you'll just provide the S3 bucket link, you will get only 30 points. And additionally, 31 is if you manage to create the CloudFront manually from the AWS console. But I believe it's not necessary. So it's usually it's even much more easier to deploy to the AWS using code. So in our case, it's CDK. But if you're talking about virtual machines, it may be also Terraform or CloudFormation, which is AWS native infrastructure as a code tool. Okay, let's move on. How we submit? I think we just mentioned it. So I don't. Okay, yeah. And the next one, just not to confuse you, I think I will remove the text to that one because manual deployment. I think it's not the case in the TK 24, 25. Sorry. Answering your questions, actually, you can deploy it manually and automatically. But what would happen if you just deployed something manually? Let's imagine. So you just deployed your S3 bucket, populated with your application, made it accessible, and also attached the CloudFront to this S3 bucket. You will have an application, a working application. But then you will create the CDK deployment. It will just create another deployment of your application with new S3 bucket, with new CloudFront, with just everything new. Only if you will provide the same names of the buckets, there may be some unique key violations. So you can have the S3 bucket with the same names globally, actually, not only inside your account, but globally. So you will just your deployment will just break just because you will violate this constraint. So this is how it works. So what exactly you need to do in this task? I think in the educational purposes, it's not bad to try and deploy it manually, but it's not necessary actually. I'll suggest you and encourage you just to go and deploy it with the CDK. It will be enough. So you'll just provide your code and provide the URL to your deployed application. Assessment description. You need to do both and manual rated with 70 points and get 34 out of 8. Okay, let's have a look at the wording once again. Because yeah, I probably need to change it and adjust it. Okay, it's optional. Was deployed. CloudFront distribution, validation created and configured by using AWS CDK. But it doesn't make any sense, actually. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'll create the additional notification in the Discord channel, just not to spend so much time in the manual deployment, because the result will be quite the same. So you will just deploy your application in the AWS and covered by the CloudFront. This is it. Uh, Once again, in educational purposes, it's good to understand how AWS console works, but from the production point of view, it doesn't make any sense because you will never deploy something manually on the production. So yeah, let's settle on what you need to make it only automatically, and it will be enough. So provide the code with the CDK and provide the URL of your application. But if you will struggle with the automation, let's make it manually. Just make it manually and just attach the URL, and that's it. Maybe it makes sense. Yeah, but if you struggle with the automation, I really encourage you to finally to find a way to fix it. Just because all of the upcoming lessons will be about the automation as well, and we will not leverage the manual approach anymore. So we will only talk about the automations, only about the CDK. Okay, so yeah, one more kind of action item. So notification about evaluation. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, to summarize, we don't need to submit anything for manual deployment. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So just submit your code of the CDK and attach your URL to your application in the comments. So we can freely provide only link to CloudFront, which was done with CDK and git push CDK config tier into the front end static in our pull request from points. Yeah, maybe I will work a bit with the terminology just because CDK config tier. I'm not sure if you should push some configuration of a CDK, and there is actually plenty of it, but I believe we should be enforced by git ignore. I'm not sure, but yeah, talking about your question, so you will need just to deploy CDK in the GitHub repository, create in the task2 branch, and then create the pull request from the task2 to the main and provide the link to this exact pull request to the submission. And in the comments, yeah, sure, left the in the description of this pull request, just place the URL to your application. Yeah, one more thing I forgot. So whenever you are checking someone's job, there's an option to do it anonymously. I don't know why do we still have this function, this checkbox, this button. I don't actually remember how it looks like, but yeah, I encourage you not to do it and be as polite and friendly and helpful as possible when you're checking someone's job. So, for example, if something is missing inside of this pull request, if there is not enough information, just go to the student and ask him, okay, look, you just forgot to, I don't know, in this case, yeah, you may just forget to create the distribution. Yeah, but in this case, your deployment will be just not accessible, but still. So someone just forgot something. Just go to the student and tell him, okay, looks like you just forgot something. Please correct your mistake, and I will give you much more points for this, and I will not deduct anything. So be as polite and friendly as possible. It's very crucial. And on the other hand, if you will face some unpolite behavior, just come with me and we will try to figure out what can be do and how can they check it. And yeah, please don't check the tasks anonymously. It's really hardening the finding the ends for someone just to understand, okay, why did someone give me deducted okay, for example, 20 points from my task? I just don't get it. So just why? And yeah, it's really complicating all the things. Oh, one more question. Looks like we still have some time. I have done my pull request, but when I try to put the link in the SQL, I get the message, please provide another link. Students can see pull requests of private AWS school purpose. I think it looks like you're working from the private repository. Could you please reach me in the Discord so we will try to figure out? But it looks like the issue is what you're using the private repository, and the problem is no one can access this private repository because it's private. It's your personal repository. You need to make it public. So you can just go to the settings and the main part. If I remember it correctly, you will scroll down below and find something visibility or something like this. Just create your repository public. It will be enough to submit your task. Do we know whose work? Yeah, I believe you will have a list, and in order to check someone's job, you will need to go to the AWS school and open the cross-check review. You will need to choose the task. In this case, it will be the second task, which is called Servant SPA. Next, you will need to choose the student. Hopefully, it will be names, but I don't know actually. I don't remember. So if someone can assist me with it. So yeah, I would like to maybe have a brief call on Saturday, so you can just show me how it looks like. Just because I have a test account, but there is nothing like cross-check or something like this, so I can just see. So if we can have a look on how it looks like, I'll really appreciate your help if we can have a brief call and you will just show me in the Discord via the screen sharing how it looks like, what are the options. So yeah, it will be very helpful for me. But yeah, I believe there should be names. But I don't know. But they should be. Yeah, they probably should. Okay, I don't know. So yeah, anyways. So thank you so much for your attendance. I wish you good luck. So yeah, first task I think is one of the most complicated ones, just because all your life you're just writing applications. You know, you're going to this wild world of the AWS, of the clouds, and yeah, so on. But I will try to make this path as smooth as possible. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you will have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the Discord. I'll try to help you as soon as I can. So for now, see ya and bye.